Hello there, people of the internet. This is Political Headache with Felgonah Oyuga. Felgonah, how are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, I am right. This the spirit of Friday. How are you doing? I was telling the people of the internet the other day, I was telling you, not the people of the internet, that I want to write a book. I want to ghostwrite for him a book.
Ah, nice.
That book is going to be called How to Pivot.
Ladies and gentlemen, it has been exactly 1 week since former Prime Minister Raila Odinga and President Ruto signed a memorandum of understanding.
Okay.
It had a 10-point agenda that we talked about last week.
Okay.
And it's been a week.
Of the Cooperation Pact.
It's been a week of, yes, as Lady Felgonah will have it, the Cooperation Pact.
That has nothing to do with my book.
No, I just pivoted.
Yeah.
I pivoted the conversation from you.
So this week, President Ruto has been going all over the city.
And that's why I was actually setting the stage for this conversation which you're bringing about.
Okay.
It's been a week since it was signed.
Okay.
And then now we segue into the fact that it has been, this week the president has been taken away.
So there are key things that the president has been talking about. I wish I had the mastery of a young boy like Kasmuel. I would say it off the top of my head, but I'm going to read. There's the issue of national unity and inclusivity.
Right.
Ruto repeatedly highlighted the new working arrangement with Raila Odinga as a move to unite the country, correct? A lot of people disagree, especially people taking tea in Wamunyoro. Right? Affordable housing and slum upgrading. A lot of people are saying that Raila has been there for years. He has never been able to do it. Youth employment and skills training, Then there is infrastructure and urban development, education and school facilities, okay? And then school feeding programs, 1 million chapatis.
And we were discussing and you were telling me the logistics of making 1 million chapatis. You told me you would have to churn 12 chapatis per second, yeah?
Yes.
Was it 12 or 13?
Critics raise serious questions about the feasibility and wisdom of the idea. Media outlets rain fact checks, analyzing what it would take to actually produce 1 million chapatis daily. And the numbers were staggering. To meet that target, a machine would need to churn out about 12 chapatis every second, requiring roughly 40,000 kilograms of flour and 20,000 liters of cooking oil each day. The Standard newspaper calculated the daily cost of ingredients alone to be at 11.4 million, which would blow past the entire annual budget of the filling program if sustained. But anyway, those are the things that that Ruto has been going up and about, talking about. The question that I want to ask you is that why did he not go around with his older brother Raila Odinga? Because, like you said, why?
Kila mtu achukue baba yake apeleke. Baba
wewe uko na swali yako, acha niulize. Acha niulize huyu jamaa. Politically, it would have made sense if after doing this pact together, then they would go around and showing themselves to the people. I would think that that's what they would do.
And I think that, and that's the question that has always been lingering in my mind, that this MOU is a thing which people have greatly misunderstood. Because the cooperation agreement outlines 10 things, 10 conditions that ought to be met for them to work together. So I think that with the accomplishment or the fulfillment of these 10 things, then we can see a sort of unity in governance of sorts. But right now, I do not know why that has been interpreted as now they're supposed to be co-governors or co-principals in government. They're not. And if a development tour is happening, it's the president who's the head of government who leads development. And he's been walking around with the governor, he's been walking around with the
area
MPs and specific MCAs. I do not see what Honorable Odinga's role would be in a developmental tour, because he already has a constituency, and when he wants to address them, he'll address them. We've seen during the week that the Prime Minister held a presser with MOU veterans. The MOU veterans, actually we were there yesterday, and the MOU veterans
why are you saying I was there?
The MOU veterans visited the former Prime Minister.
Oh, you're afraid.
He wants to absolve himself.
At least you have to edit that one down. Anyway, which is really important.
Yes.
And this is what I don't understand, Felgonah, that was coming together, having a huge event, just to tell people that we want to work together, because nobody gave anybody any ultimatum on that stage. Was there anybody gave?
Yes, the MOU is an ultimatum.
And there were consultations before. By the time they came down to those 10, they didn't wake up and have the 10. And which big ceremony was this?
KICC was big.
No, it was big because people came to it. We just said, but it wasn't planned to be big. We just said, come, we are doing 1, 2, 3, and people showed up. We made it big. It wasn't.
I think, Felgonah, I think that it is Raila and Ruto that complicated the whole MOU.
In what way?
Because it looks like you are my friend, and I'm telling you that, Felgonah, before we are seen in public doing things together, you should do this and that.
Yes.
I don't want you to be walking around with a UDA colors.
This is burnt yellow. This dress is burnt yellow.
So we say this I relay this to you without having a press about it. And then once you've decided that, okay, Jagero will not be walking around with UDA colors, then we can go and form partnership in front of everybody.
No, but remember, Kasmuel is our friend. He has been hanging out with us.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, so if we are going to agree on something, it's only fair that Kasmuel knows why I don't want to talk to you today. It's because 1, 2, 3. Yeah, so we are all involved in this thing. We are saying we want to work together so that to give Kasmuel peace of mind, we don't have to be calling him every night that we are fighting.
But you see, it also comes on the backdrop of the AUC elections. Yes, and where Kenya had put up a very spirited fight, and we withdrew from the election on the 6th round. And Jagero, stop, man.
Oh my God! This is why is this guy twisting this thing like this? And we withdrew.
I was in Addis. Let me tell you.
It was not a loss.
Listen, do you know if, for example, we decided to go on, the elections would have been postponed because nobody would have attained the 2/3.
Really?
Yes, you have to attain at least 30. Was it 31 or 33 votes? 32 countries. Nobody would have achieved those ones. So if we said, okay, fine, we want to go on to the next round and to the next round, the elections would have been postponed for
another
year or to around June, July or something.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
we actually did withdraw.
So basically, we're saying, okay, we don't want to be a nuisance.
Yes, that's actually what
we want to support Africa.
Yes.
You know,
Africa is bigger than all of us.
Right. So that's where this MOU is coming on the backdrop of AUC, and there's the public expectation. There's a political atmosphere that the politicians have to cater to. So this is not just coming out of the blue. Remember, also this is also pegged on the political unrest that has been caused by the youth, myself included. It's on the backdrop of the revolution that happened on the 25th of June last year. So we cannot look at this as an isolated event. I think this is a political. It's a political event of significance, because I think they're trying to deflate or diffuse the political temperatures in the country.
Okay.
Yes, trying to get aspirin for their political headache.
but there's talk of this being a campaign.
The developmental tour.
Yes. Yeah. So it's more of a campaign, because there's nothing new they're saying to anybody anyway.
Okay.
All these things we've been told before. They'll upgrade slums, more schools, medical. There's nothing new apart from the chapels.
Yeah.
because the reason why I was wondering why he did not walk around with Raila Odinga hand in hand was because he has been talking about national unity and inclusivity. And this is probably coming from the fact that in the MOU, he was told that we need to see inclusivity and we need to see national unity before we work together. So do you think that this is part of him trying to, attend to the MOU before?
Right.
Yeah.
It could be so, but also this also begs the question, then what does, on the one hand, we're puzzled that he's not walking around with Right Honorable Raila Odinga, but on the other is Raila, the unspoken the unspoken tenor of that is Raila Odinga the symbol of national unity?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is does he then become the beacon or the symbol of unity? Because ideally, the president should be the symbol of national unity.
Yes.
So asking why he's not working with another individual tends to suggest that you're pointing out a weakness. Yeah,
the reason why I'm saying that, I'm pointing out a weakness in Ruto is not that popular right now, since he took over the presidency. His stock has really gone down. But then also the reality is that Raila is a powerful individual.
Right.
Politically and even as a person. And therefore, if Ruto were to be going around talking about inclusivity and unity, then Raila is a very big card on is a card on the table.
No, certainly.
Because if you walk around with Raila talking about unity and inclusivity, if you walk around with Raila talking about upgrading the slums, because Raila has been big on that, especially in his backyard or former backyard, Kibra, right? So it's just weird that they decided to Felgonah, there is nothing in there.
Of what interest would it be?
Exactly
to
have
Raila? No, even to Raila, because just to jump in, sorry.
Yeah.
Of what use would it be for Raila Odinga to walk around on that tour?
But he's a champion of inclusivity and a champion of
no, certainly. But he's already done his bit. He's already said that he has expressed a willingness to work with the government if certain conditions are met. He has already laid those out. And mostly, if you see, the president has been touring a lot of what we would call his strongholds.
Whose strongholds?
Raila's strongholds.
Okay.
If you see the way the tour has been shaped, there's a silent opinion that these are Raila Odinga's strongholds. I think it's enough show of goodwill that the president could tour those strongholds without Raila Odinga and with fairly normal operations, not as much,
not being heckled,
no political violence. You see, because if Raila Odinga wanted, he would have said that you will not access my constituency without my permission. You will not access my constituency without my presence. And I think this is such a huge show of goodwill by the former Prime Minister in just allowing. And I say this cognizant of the fact that yes, Kenya has you can traverse anywhere as a president, but by having him just go into his constituency without name dropping as much, because we do not hear him in his addresses speak about the Right Honorable Raila Odinga as you would. A lot of people cling onto his name to get a point in or a point across. Seeing the president access these spaces is enough show of goodwill, I think.
You were adding something.
No, it's so funny the way we're always saying Raila to go home, retire. We are tired of you, but you cannot leave him to retire, Jagero. Because I think the whole point right now is Ruto's development tour.
Right.
What does it mean? Does it have any meaning? I mean, Baba doesn't come into play, really. If, like, for example, yesterday he was in Kibra and the MP was there, I mean, that's enough. So why can't we discuss these things that the president was saying, was promising? What does it mean? Because remember we started saying that it looks like a campaign. Is it a campaign?
Yeah, and I'd throw that question to you. Because during the height of our protest, one of the favorite characters we loved to hate is, and I think the youth still have quite a bit of a bone to pick with, is David Ndii. And he said a quote that has stuck with me ever since he wrote it out, that politics is a contact sport. A lot of the time, the general sentiment on the internet is that the president should just be in State House and just work and
deliver.
Allow the people, the MCAs, because people are also saying that the magnitude of the projects that are being launched should be launched by MCAs, should be launched by MPs, for example, and should not be launched by a president. Do you think it's? Do you think that's valid?
I don't know.
Or is there justification for the president to go around launching these things?
No, I'm of the feeling that he should be in the office and work.
Okay.
We are happy to actually have things working as opposed to somebody coming to us every day and telling us they're going to work. So that's why I feel so much. I'm leaning towards maybe he's already in campaign mode.
Yes.
Because when you even look at the places he goes to, what might look to us like, as the the urban poor, is the urban middle class, quote unquote, as something small. Why is he giving chapati? Why is he promising people? Whatever he's promising. And some of these things actually were even in place. I think there was the young people going out to clean the streets and what. We had kazi kwa vijana. He did kazi kwa vijana.
Right.
Yeah, so he's now repromising us kazi kwa vijana. These things were already there, they were already working. But you see, for those people who will actually get that kazi, for these people who will actually eat the chapos, it makes such a difference to them. Yeah. And it can actually mean re-election for some of these people. So I'm still on that I'm still at that point where just stay and work. Can I just have things working for me? Yeah.
For me, if you asked me, I wouldn't say that he can sit in State House and work, but he can also go out and launch, because then the question is, what is the importance of a political figure launching a project? So, for example, I think last year or the year before, he was in Kericho launching a Mfereji or something. It was something very dodgy. He was launching it in Kericho. And sometimes, by the way, these guys are not just taking themselves to those places. Most of the time they are invited to go and launch those things. So they are actually just accepting the invitation and going there, and because they are the bigger person there politically, they are allowed to cut the ribbon. So they could have just
the
gone.
Undertones.
They could have just gone and sat down and watched the ceremony. But because of who they are, like you've said several times, that people want to latch onto things and plug onto things that probably somebody like Raila Odinga is doing. So if there is something that is happening in Lamu, and Raila Odinga is invited, and there is something to be cut like a ribbon, they will ask Raila Odinga to come and cut the ribbon. It's not necessarily that he went there to cut the ribbon. He was there, and because he is the big guy, he's been asked to come forward and do it. The people will report that he went to Kericho to open the tap. But probably they're just like proud of their son who has just become president.
But this is different when it's the president, because he had already promised us some of these things he's telling us. Can they just work? Chapo is good.
I think yes, you are. We are going to go to Chapo.
Chapo is good, but can I be able to get some services?
Yeah, for sure, and that's the thing. So, for example, even here, major theme was Ruto's pledge to eradicate urban slums through affordable housing programs. Speaking in areas like Magadare and Kibra, he promised that informal settlements would be transformed into modern estates with the proper amenities within a decade. So, correct? For example, in Kibra, one of Africa's largest slums, Ruto launched a project for 15,000 affordable housing units and vowed that Kibra will be an estate in the next 10 or 15 years with water, electricity, and toilets.
Did they tell him they want it?
Yeah?
Did they tell him they want that?
That's actually a valid concern, because a lot of the times the happenstance of a slum is not just, it's decades of mental emancipation that needs to happen. You might change the houses, but if we do not help the people to navigate, because housing is just one problem, then there will be, let's say, if they still do not have access to water, or let's now assume that they have the basic amenities, but they do not have access to a good education, that still becomes a problem, because you do not now know how to dwell in the newly created suburb. But also, I think this just goes to speak to the organization of our cabinet, for example. The executive, you find that a lot of the people who are in cabinet for far too long have been people who cannot speak to the dockets that they represent.
Yes.
Because affordable housing should have had, I think there's a CS who's in charge of housing and infrastructure of sorts. Do you know them? We don't. And these are the people who are supposed to be relaying these messages to the Kenyan.
Exactly.
Because then we find that the president will always be launching everything. What then does the MP get to launch?
Yes.
What does the MCA get to launch? And this now just again speaks to the exposure of cabinet, because a lot of the time, the things that we find the president speaking about, we find that the president is the most eloquent person in the cabinet. Despite people drawing huge salaries, all that the people can do, instead of talking about the projects that they are doing or the dockets that they're in charge of clearly to the people, all that they can do is praise the president, and us finding, I think this feeling of us feeling as though the president is stuck in campaign mode comes from an inept cabinet, because the whole reason he has a cabinet is that these are people who are supposed to be able to articulate his policies,
yes,
and those kinds of things.
You know, when we go back to the affordable housing, and I think it's something that's talked about so loosely. We'll come here and we'll give you houses, and you live in houses, and you'll have running water, as if it's the first time we are doing it. If you take Kibra, for example, there was a time people were living dangerously close to the railway line. Yeah, so the railway comes and puts them out, and then puts up some nice units, and says, all of you who lived on the railway line will now get these units. You know what has happened? Most of those people who lived on that line don't have those units, because somebody else comes and buys those units and then rents them out. So I know for a fact that there's part of that railway line up where now it's almost going into waste, because just monkeys and what live in it, because they're fighting over it. The people who are at the railway are like, no, give us our houses. We were promised houses when you removed us here. And somebody else has already bought them, so they're at that point. So it's not enough to come and just give people lip service. That's why I'm so interested in things actually working. As you said, some of these things is years of a mentality that needs to be erased. Two, there's a lot of corruption that goes on in these situations. When you talk about affordable housing, and that's why I asked, did they tell you they want it? Because those people have experienced situations where they've been removed from a piece of land, you have been promised affordable housing, it comes up, you don't get it.
But you also raise a very interesting point that I had not considered previously, that even if we do these upgrades, and there's still, because this example that you've given has made me alive to the fact that unemployment is still quite a huge challenge for them.
Yes.
And now you give these people houses.
How are they going to maintain it?
And if, let's assume that this, for the first year, I think then the other thing you're going to see is a population upsurge, because now I have a place to live and I do not have anything to do, and I've always had this large family. What more can I do? I'll just have sex with my partner and procreate. And then that problem which we thought we had averted, it just doubles. Then now you will perpetually be building houses. And I think that is also a thing which now, housing cannot just be a standalone project.
It isn't.
Yes, and it just can't be about us moving people away from these things. If the houses, do they have plans for employment? Do they have plans for recreation?
Yes.
Do they have plans for education? Do they have plans for business? Because if it's just housing units, we won't go far, because then we will see crime rates go up, we will see a surge in population, as we said, and then we will also see, I think, a very interesting case of mental problems.
Exactly. Remember, we even having that discussion where we said, you remove somebody from this slum, you put him in a house because you think you're doing him a favor, and he's like, I can't afford this house. Who's going to wash this whole house?
Yeah, because I heard that they were also saying that we were down there paying 1,400.
Yes.
And then now you're telling us to pay 6,000.
And then you know what happens then? Now what? You've given me this nice house. I'll build a shack at the back, rent this house so that I can use the rent. Yes. I use the rent now to live. Yeah. So,
but also that's very interesting, because even in the affordable housing, are we considering the communal structure? Because if in the slums there's proper nyumba kumi structures,
exactly,
then how sure are we that we will carry this culture into the affordable housing units?
There is something that you also talked about, that whether is it really you talked about an inept cabinet, but then can we then talk about an inept governor? Because then he is also taking the place of the governor, quote unquote, and saying infrastructure and urban renewal. Throughout the tour, Ruto highlighted efforts to modernize Nairobi's infrastructure. You remember Sakaja has been at the center of this storm, whereby people are saying that when it rains in Nairobi, it becomes a lake or a swimming pool. So here, again, Ruto launched Nairobi Rivers Regeneration Project, a 50 billion initiative in integrating river cleanup with new sewer lines, flood control, and the construction of 50,000 affordable housing units on reclaimed land. So then, is this Sakaja's problem? Is this Ruto's problem?
I think
is it Is it a dual problem?
This Nairobi River is a thing which we've used as a campaign tool. I wish we saw it as sacred as we see the Nile. Because we can't play around with the Nile. And remember, Nairobi has an artificial water problem.
Yes.
This water shortage in Nairobi.
When you say artificial water problem, what do you mean?
I don't believe it's real. I don't believe Nairobi lacks water.
We don't harvest even the water. It went the other day. Did we harvest any of that water?
I don't even think it's about harvesting. Even without harvesting, I think our water table is not too bad. I think there's particular cartels who ensure that there's shortages somewhere so that they trade in water. So there's trading within it because
the blue clean water thing.
Yes, those kind of things, the Bowsers. And if we are in a city that we understand that water is quite a bit of a challenge, I think if we want to help the people who are in the slums, we do it progressively. We do not start from the end and come back. First, we know that the people in the slums lack proper sewerage. I would sort sewerage first.
Yes.
I'd sort water. I'd sort electricity. And then as we acclimatize, we slowly move them into these housing units. But you see, a work like Nairobi, the cleanup of the Nairobi River should very easily be low-lying fruit for the youth. Because a lot of the youth who are unemployed, one would sit in those boards, but would also have the time and the energy to clean up that river.
Yes.
Yes. And this is the thing, because remember, this is the umpteenth time we're hearing about this river. It was supposed to be clean. It was supposed to be clean and we would be able to fish and drink from it last year in December. Yeah, but I do not know the way.
But now we are relaunching Kazi kwa Vijana through it.
Because that's the thing. So that's why a lot of people are saying that's a campaign. But anyway, let's talk about the Chapati thing, especially not even the Chapati thing, but the feeding program. I've never understood it. Does any of you?
I've met the founder. The lady for Dishina County. I think Dishina County is like an initiative that's not particularly by Nairobi County. I forget her name.
I know she was doing.
I don't know. I think I met her in church or something.
Yeah.
And we were talking about how they partner with several counties. So it's not just Nairobi.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they do it and they talk with county governments and see if they can get kitchens. And they used to do their cooking somewhere in an industrial area and
put
they
them
got
in the trucks.
And then, so now by the time I was meeting them, they'd just gotten some new trucks and those kinds of things. So and this also speaks to a sinister level of political machination because, and I'm not sure I'm allowed to reveal this, but there's a certain powerful person, when that person watches this will know, they wanted it to be Dishina, this person, instead of Dishina County, and then they settled on Dishina County. And this program, I would have wished that these were government-led initiatives. I would have wished that this would have been happening the way Nyayo was happening.
And it's not even a new initiative. School feeding program is not new. Children have been fed for a while in county schools. I know that because there's a school somewhere on Lenan Road inside the forest there. I can't remember what it's called. And there's a time I took a walk in there, and they feed children. They had their maybe now it is this dish in account is a bit maybe they have put salt and some tomatoes, but that other one they were feeding children, and the parents were paying a certain amount of money. And it was subsidized, highly subsidized. And
like I think even this
within the fees, it's $5 bob or something like that. That's tap whatever.
Oh, people still pay.
They pay.
But
It's
significantly
and it helps. It helps because there are actually children that would not eat a hot meal a day if it wasn't for this feeding program. The only problem I have with it is that we are using somebody's misfortune for gain, for political gain, because this is not something we should discuss. Feeding children should not be something we are just thumping about.
This should be basic.
Yes,
it's the way we collect taxes is the way children
should be fed. Yes, it shouldn't be a thing at all.
But then the question I'm asking is, where are they feeding the children?
In
the schools.
And how do they know which school they should be?
Just the way you're in school, for example. So you have a wristband. It looks like it's a wristband for a watch.
Digital
that has a Nairobi County thing. So if you tap it, I think you can load credits on it.
Yes.
And now if you the way you would have meal cards in primary school, I knew ma'am number 1 or 3 at the beginning.
We used to have
tiny minis. Then you go for the week. Sometimes you pay maybe 100.
But the question I'm asking is the logistics of it. Where are they cooking
in
and
the
where?
kitchens, in the schools. These things happen in
all the schools.
Yes.
And it's
all the schools in Nairobi.
Yes.
The city council, not private.
Like, of course, the
all the city council schools has this thing.
Yes.
Isn't that a good thing, though?
It is a very
good thing.
But is it something to write home about? Ideally, if a child is going, if you're going to have a child somewhere for 8 hours,
they should eat
they
something.
Should eat.
Why would you have children there looking at you and not eating?
Like saying, "Wow, look, there's a school here." I mean,
what are you guys saying?
You grew up in the wrong era, and maybe I'm entitled.
Not though for us. Okay, we paid school lunch.
Right.
It was highly subsidized, but we had maziwa ya Nyayo that used to come twice a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays, if I can remember. And I remember that one.
Yeah. Did you do it? Was it Nyayo?
Oh, you people were not. These ones were not there when.
As we were not to try. During the MOU must go.
Yeah, it really saved us, man.
Yes.
Because what used to happen is that the days, I remember my mother knowing that there is a day for milk. Yes. They would just cook ugali on day.
Then you come with the milk. The ugali.
No, I don't think that. No, our mothers wouldn't be drinking the milk.
Okay. Also, it's just for you guys.
Yeah, but you'd even carry it for a sibling.
Yeah.
I mean, those who would carry for siblings.
Yes.
And those trucks would come without fail.
Yes.
From class 1 to class 8.
Yes.
Each class had.
I think in our school they used to give 2 to a particular group. I forget.
Yes. Yeah. And it helped because how many children had access to milk at that time? And and a child needs milk, the calcium and all the other nutrients that go with milk.
It was really sweet milk, and it was authentic milk. The milk that they give us these days, I am wondering. And I am very intolerant to it.
Does a child actually really need milk after they're done breastfeeding?
No, you did. The calcium, what other source would you have? It's the ready source of calcium. Because looking at a child coming from a village or whatever, for example, does it?
Let me ask you.
We just need to ensure that a child is fed.
What does it say about our larger problem when kids that go to school do not have food? What does it say about our bigger problem?
Oh man, that's a very heavy question, because I think we're still at the point where we will gamble with anything. All is game.
Yes. As long as it gives you political mileage.
As long as it's going to give us mileage, we're willing to toy with education, we're willing to toy with healthcare, we're willing to toy with every fabric of society, even the things that we once held sacred. We're willing to toy with those. But also, again, as I usually say, I wish it succeeds. I wish that it becomes a norm. We can weed out the bad parts later, but I think I would really love it to be the norm that children just have
fed
square meals whenever they're in school. Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
The motorcade killed somebody. Did you what was going on there?
Oh, man,
did he jump on the way?
I've seen maybe 2 stories.
I've had 3 or 4.
Oh, is it so?
Yeah.
I think maybe the official ones that I've heard are 2. There's I think a Dutchman. I think it's still under investigation. I can't speak anything. Lives have been lost.
But by the way, a lot of people are saying that they just hit him and took off. Do you think a presidential motorcade would stop because somebody has been hit on the road?
I
don't think so.
We can say many things, but usually even before the motorcade passes, cars have been stopped. Yes, and people have been stopped for
a significant amount of time.
So, and my problem with what happened yesterday is the number of stories that came out, and a lot of them false. A group of us were going for a function that we almost missed because everybody had a story. That Kibera was on fire, and you're calling everybody, and nothing is happening. And they have entered. I don't know where they're taking people out. I think we now need to rein in on a lot of
course, there's a lot of mis and disinformation, but there's also a very curious one where I think it was earlier in the week or last week. There was this one was an interesting one. A police officer, person who served, was killed by the motorcade, and they were rushed to ICU, and I think they passed away yesterday. I saw it on social media. And this is now a person who's a police officer who was knocked by the motorcade.
The motorcade, yeah.
And so I've seen a social media user talk about that.
So if what happened yesterday did happen, then there's a problem because two are many.
Right.
You can't be hitting people, and then the
interval.
Yes.
Because I remember those days when, for example, the MOU days, the road would be really clear. I don't know whether these days they do it differently.
Maybe they do it different. Actually, I've not been on the road when.
Yeah,
I don't think so.
I don't know
also
whether
that time,
for example,
you guys were maybe 10,000 all over 10. So of course the roads would be clear.
Let me ask you, for example, if Ruto is coming up the road, coming from Karen, going to State House, how does it look like?
No one will be on the road.
No one.
Yes.
All the way, there'll be, and from morning even.
No, it's very true. But then this puts us in a very interesting dilemma because it's a moral question, and then there's the power question. Because morally, regardless,
somebody should stop.
A car should be able to stop because if anything, then he has access to all that power. And
a car should be able to stop.
A car should be able to stop if you see a human being.
Yes.
A car should be able to stop.
Well, what would they do? What would the motorcade do with the person that is sprawled on the road bleeding?
But they move with ambulances anyway, don't they?
I'm saying
they move with ambulances.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So
say
say they hit the person.
Yeah.
They should be able to, at least even if there's no ambulance in the motorcade,
they should be able to not hit the person.
Yes.
Or I think the conversation should be what happens to a citizen that has been hit by a passing president. We should say that there should be an ambulance specifically for that.
But you see, the motorcade does not come at 60.
At what?
At 60.
Yeah. It comes.
If you're in the way of a motorcade, man, your chances of survival are rather slim.
You can still survive. They can slap you with the what is it called? The wind. What is it called? This thing for the side mirror. Yeah. They can slap you with that. You will survive. But you'll be on the ground bleeding. So we are saying, because I imagine that the government, the president also, travels with his health, kits, So then we could say that that is not for the person that is hit on the side of the road, but we could be having that contingency.
Yes, no, for sure. There should be. I think motorcade should be more considerate of the public.
Because for me, I do not think that the motorcade should stop because somebody's been hit.
It's true, and I totally agree because again,
it's a security issue.
That's the thing. There's also the question that, as you've said, the roads are cordoned off, and when a presidential motorcade is passing through, you don't find people crossing the road or going.
No.
Yeah. So I see that angle as well, but yeah. There could be better organization then.
Yes.
There could be better organization around the chase cars. There could be better organization around handling of the people because you're only a president because of the people. But then also there's a responsibility of the people to just again a lot of people understand the social contract around even that presidential motorcade. And hopefully we'll see better organization going forward. There are also a lot of stories about gangs.
Gangs picking after the president.
Right. Unintended chase cars.
They were gleaning.
So who was saying that people were closing down shops?
Yeah, of course, I've seen that.
The boy that came here to edit from Kibera. Right. He was telling me that people closed their shops.
Yeah. In the morning because apparently there had been rumors around actually because I have a lady who does my vegetables. Yeah. And she was saying to us, buy a lot because tomorrow we might not.
Buy a lot.
A lot.
Buy a lot.
You have to
buy a lot. You have to be a junk. You only have to be a junk to get it.
Yeah, because the next day they might not open. But then they opened. Yeah, the next day she called and said, we opened, there's nothing.
But they were saying that the crowd is not very authentic. The crowd is a bit...
There's no authentic crowd in this country. Even in church, I think the people come there because they're unified by the collective fear or love of a deity. You think it's your pastors because you're preaching. No, it's because of community. All crowds are mobilized. Heck, this is a mobilized crowd. You think I would be here if you had not mobilized me to come and discuss this? So
I see how cheapening you're cheapening the whole thing. giving props to Ruto.
No. But I think there was that, and that's an issue which we also need to consider, because if the aftermath of political functions will always result into more loss than gain, I think, because these are undoings, but they're also telltale signs of the high rate of unemployment, the high rate of insecurity in our country, and just the need to also strengthen institutions. Because I saw a video where someone was just saying that on our wanaiba na polisi wanacheka tu. You look at the cops have been outnumbered. Right now the ratio of a police to citizens is maybe 1 to 96 or 1 to 100, I do not know. But there's need for certain structural changes.
That's
because
we can finish this podcast now. But that's very funny. What you're talking about is very funny, because I once went to watch Gor Mahia game and people were smoking bang and there were police everywhere.
People were not smoking bang. People were meditating. I need to stop presenting what happens in a Gor Mahia match.
And so when I asked, like, what the hell is going on? Why are these people there?
They're consulting.
Do you think that these two policemen can arrest 4 Gor Mahia fans? they would not leave here alive. Thank you very much, people of the internet. This was Political Headache with myself, Jagero, Felgonah Oyuga, and I'm writing that book called Until another episode.
Until the next one, this has been Political Headache. Asanteni sana.
Yeah, bye. Hey, man.